Hello, everyone, and welcome to my bedroom. I've redecorated. I hope you like it, and I hope you like my new nightgown even more. I absolutely love it. Now, tonight is a special night for a lot of reasons. Many people are celebrating different things right now. I believe this is the second night of Passover, so happy Passover. I think Ramadan, we're right in the middle of their holiday season. Happy Ramadan. And for the Christians out there, this is Good Friday, and I've been eating a lot of vegetables and drinking a lot of water. In fact, I have my cup of ice water right here and just a little splash of lemon, and I'm raising my glass to your health and mine. I'm glad to see you back. I hope you're enjoying my episodes. This is the week after my very first month as a VTuber, and we've hit that tiny milestone. For me, I'm excited about it. I've gone past gaining, earning over 50 subscribers, and I'm super excited about this. So thank you, everyone who stuck with me from the beginning and everyone new, and a big welcome to everyone just listening as they're passing through. Now, tonight is also special because there's a full moon out there, and it's supposed to be a pink April moon, but from where I am in the world, that moon is pretty yellow. That's all right. Nothing wrong with a bit of yellow, but it's still very pretty. It's still very bright out there, reflecting over the lake that I live nearby, and it's just a beautiful view. Now, nothing strange has happened for me today. How about you? I will try my very best. Hero Flame, if you're out there, those subscribers who have been popping in and trying to leave messages for me in chat, I've moved my chat window over to my the silver drape over here. And yeah, and so I'm hoping that I will catch you. I've also got Streamlabs open so I can see the chat from there if you pop through. Again, there have been lags. We had snowflakes again today. It's supposed to be spring. Officially, it's spring, but I guess that's the only chaos the full moon has brought for me. I've got that Arctic wind out there, lots of wind out there, and that beautiful full moon reflecting. But so glad you're here for a night of tuck-in and chill. So, as I raise a glass to your health and mine, and I chug back some beautiful clean ice water, I want to welcome you to get comfy, whether you're sitting or lying down or hanging upside down off of your favorite chair, whatever it is that makes you comfortable and happy. Please tuck yourself in for a night of conversation. And I have two features for you today. One of them's already been out there live this week, but it's just so funny, and because it is from my very first subscribers' wish list, their request of me, I may just show it, maybe. It's really ridiculous and shows how little computer knowledge I have. I'm trying my best. I'm just excited that I can build myself a beautiful bedroom and find myself a nice nightie to wear for you this evening. So, if you're in your most comfortable outfit or your smaxiest one, welcome in and let's chat. Tonight I plan to feature a brand new whisper video that features various positive self-affirmations. But if you happen to fall asleep while it's playing, I'm happy for you. You deserve the rest, and a good night's sleep is so precious and the first stepping stone for our overall health and well-being. So please don't fight it. If you're feeling like you're drifting off, just let it happen. It's just a little more than 20 minutes long, so it's not enough time to guide someone into a deep slumber, but I hope you find it supportive and comforting either way. Now, for those of you who are awake at the end of the video, I have a little ghost story or two about the odd things that I have experienced in the various lonely places I've lived across the northern world. And maybe, just maybe, I'll also feature that little song I wrote because of the request from my very first subscriber. Yes, it has been out there. You may have seen it. It's really odd, and I had to face a fear and sing for the public. But if it gives you a chuckle, why not? And if you'd like me to sing a song for you that you'd like me to write, just send a note in the comments, and I will see what I can do for you. So, how are you feeling today? So for all my subscribers, I refer to you as M-Soul or M-Souls. When I'm talking to you, it's just a kind of an abbreviation for my mortal soul or my precious mortal soul. Still a little nickname. And I think it's important because in a very ancient, old-fashioned way of thinking, right, coming from ancient Rome, possibly ancient Greece as well, from the Mediterranean, there's the idea that there can be two deaths to a person. One is the body, sure, we know about that, but the other is the soul. And so thinking about it as mortal instead of immortal, we have to take time to protect it. We have to not let other people bring us down and break us down. We know that we have challenges like diseases out there, like aphasia, accidents that can cause amnesia, things that are challenging to remembering who we are or being who we are now, letting go of our past self and recreating the new, but not dying on the inside. Not having your mind leave you before your body does, not giving away your sense of self-worth to anyone else. I think that's so very important. And since mental health is something that so many people talk about, and school systems, at least in America, North America, talk about as one of their key words nowadays, it's so politically correct to talk about and protect your mental health and well-being. But really, I consider that our soul, that personality we have on the inside. That's us. That's who we are. And it is fragile. Even if we're really proud, even if we're really strong, even if we feel like a lot of things don't get to us, sometimes they build up. Sometimes we don't realize it's breaking us down or changing what we would have done or said or be if we didn't let it somehow affect our decision making. And so I'm looking at and exploring different kinds of affirmations that can help counterbalance these things in a lot of the episodes that I build. I want us to protect our inner selves, our sense of self-worth, our overall mental and emotional health, because that affects our personality, and our personality is who we are, and I consider it our soul, our core being, and our personal energy. And so when I call you M-Soul, you are precious to me. I am precious to me too. But I don't mean it in a mushy way. I mean it in, it's the one that we have. It's the one that we have right now. It's the one we've got to listen to. It's the one that's trying to warn us and give us gut feelings and give us warning signs and give us the impulse to try something new and take a shot at something. We should feed our personality. We should feed our soul and keep it well. And so after that tiny little ramble, I'm just going to take one more sip of my beautiful cup of water here. I love it. If you haven't had a chance to hydrate today, I always urge you, at least have a mouthful of water, hot or cold, whatever you like. Make sure you do it. You need it. And it will be, you being your own best friend, taking care of your organs that really need to have that little break from all of the heavy things we might be eating out there that aren't necessarily the best, healthiest choices. So let's counterbalance that. Now, before I begin, I'd like to give a special thanks out to Aridante, who brought my alter ego to the canvas, making me look as gorgeous as I do. And I'd also like to thank Nikhil Sapra and his team from the VTuberland community for the various makers out there. They helped to rig me up so that I could move around and talk to you. And, flip my hair. I love it. This makes me feel so full of glee when I see my beautiful, luscious hair floating around out there. It's a thing. Now, for my subscribers, um, who've supported me from the beginning, and all the new subscribers that have been popping in and showing me, a lot of kindness and a lot of helpful comments and support. Thank you so much. And I take cues from you. I really am listening to your queries, to your requests, and the constructive ideas. And I want to give a super warm welcome to all of our newest subscribers for helping me hit and just surpass our milestone of more than 50 subscribers just right after my very first month of VTubing. Thank you all, because it came just at the right time to give me the warm feels when I was asking myself, am I doing anything that anybody wants to know about? But some of you are supporting me, and thank you so much. And I hope that word spreads. I hope that I get a little more noticed, because I have so many ideas. And just as I was starting to question myself and revisit different YouTube sites trying to tell us how to expand and get noticed, I shot up there with the subscriber number, and I felt so motivated that I had a spurt of creative energy, and I've punched out a whole bunch of partial scripts in different directions ready for development, and I can't wait to show you what's next. So, without further ado, for anyone who might be popping through, the first thing I want to show you is that self-affirmation video, which I call Release the Past and Prosper. I've just posted it a few minutes before going live tonight, because I've learned I need to play it straight off of YouTube in order for it to play at all, because the camera or my particular computer setup doesn't support both streaming live, showing my avatar here, as well as showing the videos from my internal computer hard drive. So I'm just setting it up right now. I found this beautiful, warm, I call it the orange bedroom, very soft. Actually, the glow of the backlighting in that background actually does match the full moon that I see from my window right now, which is really not pink at all, April moon. You're kind of some kind of a shy yellow. But here we go. I'm going to switch the feed now, and I'd like to introduce to you Release the Past and Prosper. Here we go. Hello, my wonderful mortal soul. One of the reasons I know I can have trouble falling asleep is when troubling thoughts about past events or relationships creep in and spin my mind about. So, tonight, I'm dedicating our adult bedtime story ritual past experiences have made me who I am. My past has given me strength. My suffering has strengthened me. I am moving on from my past now. I have let go of all resentment towards others. time with the people and in the environments where I feel most positive about myself before, during, and after my time there. I dedicate myself to paying real attention to how I feel in different environments, doing different hobbies, spending time around different people, so I can make the best choices for my future. I deserve to have love, joy, desires, hopes, and dreams, and I'm going to help myself pursue them. I will be kind to myself. I deserve kindness. Amsel, now that you have heard this set of positive affirmations, I would like you to reflect on them. And I can only suggest that you choose one or two that really resonate with you. I'd like to know which one or two that would be in the comments below. Now, I'm going to give you a little challenge if you wouldn't mind. To repeat this one or two positive affirmations that you've chosen out loud, or write them down 5 times every day for the next 30 days. Have you ever heard of that? I'm changing the challenge. They say it takes 30 days not to eliminate a habit, but it can't simply disappear. There's a reason you have the impulse to do it. What you've got to do is replace it with something else. So I'm asking you to consider replacing that self-harming, negative, self-tearing down, depressing trigger. Even if you can't name what it is right now, by consciously creating this kindness habit for yourself, this self-appreciation habit. So find the affirmation you love the most. Say it to yourself out loud, or write it down 5 times every day. For example, you could put them on sticky notes, leave them around the house, in places where every once in a while you look up and instantly remind yourself. Maybe you give yourself a little smile when you see it. You can start small by doing this every day for just 1 week, and see how you feel. And then at the start of the second week, build onto it. Keep these first affirmations you really liked, but choose 1 or 2 more, so that now you're working with 3 to 4. And then in the third week, add another 1 or 2. And then in the final week, add another. So you could be repeating out loud. You know, if you love to sing in musical, sing it out loud. Turn them into a little song in your own way. I would love to hear about the lyrics you create from these affirmations. And if you happen to be the creative type who proactively creates their own responses to the affirmations that I've exposed you to, please feel free to share with us Sometimes we know something, but someone else just has an knack for putting it in words in a way that we didn't quite think of before, and it is in a really good way. So I'm very curious to know what you do with these affirmations. Well, it wouldn't hurt to try this method, and most likely I hope it might even help. That's what I'm hoping for. Please let me know in the comments if this idea works for you. Right now I'm cozying up, getting comfy, ready for a good night's sleep, lifting weight of the burdens of my day, calming the scurrying in my mind, forgiving those moments that are crossing my mind that I wish I had said or done something differently once upon a time, before now ago. And I hope these affirmations will help you do the same. This is very important for a good night's sleep. It's one of the building blocks for us to be healthy in every other way. I hope you're so very comfy over there as well. So I'm sending you big hugs and best wishes to you. I wish for you a truly restful sleep, a peaceful mind, a heart at ease, hopes and dreams, and the excitement to pursue them. I wish for you wonderful days ahead. Have a very good night, episode, and a wonderful weekend. Catch you in the next episode. Sweet dreams and good night.
Qu'est-ce que t'as fait aujourd'hui, mon amour?
Mako the Cruel is the in-universe yardstick used in...
All right, we made it. We made it through. Well, we're back. Back to my bedroom over here, just trying to hide a little tray of goodies that's for a little later this evening. Well, I don't know what you'll think of that. So far it's just me hanging out with me, and for anyone popping in later on, I know that a lot of my subscribers are over on the West Coast, so right now it's still pretty early for you guys out there. In fact, I don't even know if I'm sharing the same sky with you right now, but that full moon's coming, and it's going to be quite brilliant when you do get a chance to see it. So, I hope that I was able to put you to sleep. Looks like I almost put myself to sleep there just a little bit, but that's okay. That's what we're here for on a Friday night, to unwind, let things go, let our mind go a little bit quiet, have a break. Maybe, sometimes get that little bit of extra sleep we're not usually getting during the week or between long shift work. And shout out to all my shift workers out there who are on the job right now, possibly looking at me through their smartphone while they're laid out across or underneath some company board office table right now. You know who you are. I'm here, hopefully entertaining you while you're there, keeping watch over everything. Now, and speaking of keeping watch, there was something that I made absolutely ridiculous, and I did it on the request of my very, very first subscriber, who would be known in the gamers world and WoW as Blue Flame. And so, Blue Flame, not to be confused with Hero Flame or Eternal Flame, who are also out there, different people, very similar gamers' names. I also know a Glow Flame, and an Ember Flame is her alt name. So, a few flames out there. But of these flames, my very first, is Blue Flame. And we were talking about, getting back to my original ideas for the mercenary backstory of Venus Cleta. And, well, can't go anywhere without my gauntlets. But really thinking of doing some campfire stores or switching to some of our tuck-in and chills to, campgrounds and have that bonfire. Share a few ghost stories, because I noticed when I switched into talking about one or two of my own tiny little events, that last time we did tuck in and chill, when the computer systems weren't working for me the way I wanted. And it was just a filler, because I never give up, I don't quit, and I'm here to entertain. So it actually blew up, and it was my fastest growing, largest response of views and likes, and also gained a few subscribers off of it. So I thought, and I promised, a little ghost story tuck in here and there around the campfire to entertain you. So I'm going to give you just a tiny one that I'm going to show you my feature, because we were talking about, the soldiers out there, the war veterans, the ex-Marines out there that I've met along the way. And, some retired out of this as a career field. Others were in it just at the beginning of their career and now branched out into other things. But I'm so glad you're all alive, and thank you for your service. But, life in the Army could be a life intense, and some bonfires or campfires out there. So we were talking about why not I do a couple little war ditties, make up a couple of songs. Probably the first one I came out with a little too much, just a little too much in word-wise, but it was fun for me in trying to think about what I could say, because what my subscriber wanted was to see my head move like, I don't know, back in the 80s it used to be follow the bouncing ball, and you sang whatever word the ball landed on at the time, and they thought maybe I could use that with my head, so I'd be like a little bit of a bobblehead, if you will. And of course, with the low-tech computer skills that I have, the type of computer setup I have, you're going to see this is an amateur, and I cannot sing. And I warn people, and I put that disclaimer on it. But I tried my best, because I rose to the challenge, and I wanted to face my fear. Singing in public is something I do not want to do. You could not make me sing in choir. I would just open my mouth and make no sound. And I was told that was the best strategy when I was put in choir, because I could not hit those high notes. No. But I do break out in song for my guildies. Usually it's typed, though, so they're only seeing the rhyming patterns as I feed it in one line at a time through the chat. But they wanted me to do this, so I did it. And I want to make them happy. But first, before a little song around the campfire, for all our friends out there in service, a tiny ghost story. So I've moved around a lot, and I really have no one to go to and ask for help. And in a new community, you don't want anyone to think you believe in ghosts or have seen a ghost. You don't want them to think you're crazy before they've gotten to know you a little bit first, to trust that you're mostly not. Or we should hope. High functioning. And just a little one. So in this place, at least I wasn't cut off from having phone service. There were hard phone lines that were in, and made a tiny phone call. So wind's blowing in all directions. You get to hearing things like the pots and pans and dishes clattering in the kitchen. And when you don't have a neighbor that's close enough by, you don't think anyone's like broken in, because you're sitting by the only door with a clear view. No one's out there, so far as you know. And you're also sitting in a clear view of the kitchen when you turn your head to the other side from the chair that I was sitting on. And what made it worse was, I did have a roommate, but my roommate had a night job over at the only building in town other than the one I worked in, and they were doing a night shift because it was a season for doing inventory. And but I did have their cat, and their cat was on the sofa chair closest to the kitchen, like the wall that the kitchen's backs onto, and so the chair was on that wall, and behind that wall is where the oven and the sink and the fridge all lined up. It's kind of like a galley kitchen in a way, but like open concept from the short side. And what made things worse with the clattering is I didn't see any dishes in the sink. And at first, because I was used to having a roommate, and I was used to having their boyfriend coming over all the time, and making coffee for me and dinner for me because he was making it for her. He was so nice that they'd always include us and me. That was really nice. But I'm here alone with the cat, and at first not registering the clattering that I'm hearing. Then I really look up thinking, it's one of them by instinct because of the pattern I was used to. Then I'm remembering, no, they're doing inventory right now. I'm the only one here. But as I'm listening to the clattering getting louder and really banging, I'm not seeing anything in the sink, so I couldn't even blame the wind for pushing the house around enough that anything would clatter, which could happen in some of the older, flimsier, thinner housing up there. But there was nothing in the sink. There was nothing in the drying rack, and we didn't keep pans hanging from the walls with nails like some people hang them from little hooks. Everything was in its place, and I saw nothing moving. And just as I'm realizing and freezing because how am I hearing this? Am I crazy? I looked at the cat, and the cat had also been looking at the kitchen where everything was happening, like right behind / beside it, and that cat looked at me in the same moment. And then here's the thing that was the most freaky. That cat ran off of the chair into my lap to have safety with me from whatever was in the kitchen making that racket with, I guess, ghostly pots and pans. And as soon as the cat did that, I picked up that cat and said, hell no. And we were out of there. We went straight to the other side of town, surrounded by nothing but ocean, by the way, Arctic Ocean, because we were north of 60 for sure. And I did not stop to even put that coat properly on my body. I was putting my arms in the sleeves as I held the cat in the other arm. That cat did not try to run from me. That cat stayed on my chest. And we went together and we hung out, and thankfully, laughing at our, situation, the owner of the cat, my roommate, who's out there and who I may do a collaboration with one day here on this show. We're just trying to figure out what we're going to collab about. She did not make fun of me because she said, yeah, so you're noticing that too? What? So I spent the rest of the night sitting in the manager's room while they finished their shift, and we went back together. It seemed to be that whenever her boyfriend was there, these things didn't happen. They happened for our benefit. And that cat, I don't know why, but I've always thought they're associated with witches and stuff, or they say that black cats were witches, or let's blame those movies, Hocus Pocus and stuff, for thinking this way. But if that cat was afraid, something was there. And yeah, I was out of there. So that was the year I got into getting to know who the shamans were and asking for blessings. And that would at least make me feel good for partial periods of time. So that's my little story. That's my little ghost story around this campfire. Now, I'm sure you're here for something a little more than that. And if you're not getting to sleep right now, then let me show you the most ridiculous thing I feel like I've ever done in here so far as a VTuber. Blue Flame, you asked for this. This is your fault. If I get more requests like this, I will rise to the challenge. But, spare your ears. Look away if you have to. But I'd like to show you a feature that just came out this week as a spoof. my little war ditty. And as I explained to Blue Flame, I don't know why it went in the direction that it did first, but to patch together a bunch of insults as best I could seemed to be the thing that flowed first for me. So I think this has been like, I really needed to tell someone else. So here we go. And for those of you who have been in ground troops, in the field, even the medics out there, Tuka, thinking of you. Carrie Mage, I'm thinking of you. Riri, I'm thinking of you. Assault Tank, Light Assault, I'm thinking of you. This is for you guys, and I'm sure you're going to understand the kind of pain I'm wishing your enemies. So, for those of you who need a hate song for your enemies that's not going to get you in trouble if you're heard singing it in public, here you go. And I really hope that you're going to enjoy it. So, here it is. This is a request from my very first subscriber who is still with me to this day. Thank you, Blue Flame. I hope you love it. I'm here, as you can see, in an army camp at night. Don't want to wake anybody up. They've had a hard day. They're going to have a hard day again tomorrow. Let's give them some peace while they can. But because of a request from one of my very first subscribers, this is for you, my subscribers, and I know some of you have served on the ground as military medics or as military snipers, leaders of units, and light assault, assault tank, out there. You are Blue Flame and Eternal Flame and Pumpkin. For all of you, Riri, Death Marine out there, some of you whose alt names I'm using instead of your real names here for privacy. And some of you made a request that I come up with a few little war ditties that might be sung around a campfire and make them up myself. And so I thought about this request for a week, and I've rolled it around now, and I've come up with something. I don't know why I went into the direction of first a song of insults for our worst enemies out there. Insults that, you know what, they're not too bad. It's all very clean, but the request from my very, very first subscriber who's out there, and that is Blue Flame. Well, you wanted to see something like Follow the Bouncing Ball, except using my head. So follow the bouncing beat. And I thought, why not, let's do it. Just a disclaimer, this is a warning. I cannot sing. I threaten to sing to people so that they will behave. I, as a birthday present, do not sing happy birthday. I will dance. I could be your backup dancer. I will be your go-go dancer. I'll be your biggest fan, running around with a giant card and pom-poms. But I don't sing. I don't sing in public at all. It can be disturbing. So I think it's nothing better fitting than for me to try this out. And you can play it for your worst enemies. And hopefully you'll find a line to catchy enough. And for those of you who've been giving me constructive feedback, you can tell me which way to go with making these kinds of songs. Now it's really rough. I'm not a poet, but I tried to do what I can. I tried to force it into a bit of a Shakespearean, do a dictum. I don't know what they call that. Do something word. There are 13 syllables in all of these, so I try to keep it around there, but not necessarily a particular rhythm. I don't have any music that will go with this. It's just, I'm ticked, I'm at the end of my day, I'm at a campfire, I don't get to choose the dumba. I have to watch my language beside me over there, the other side of the fire pit. And so, this song, subscribers, this is your request. I hope you'll find this to your liking. So, with no further ado, I'm going to get out of the way here. And I wish you luck. I hope. Just remember, I am not a singer, so I'm so very sorry for what you're going to go through in the next few minutes. But I have a heart. And I hope this gives you a bit of a chuckle. So, here we go. I'm gonna do it over here. Right, I'll disturb these guys, let them sleep. So here we go. Alright. Here we go. Dear enemy of mine, my hate for you is here and bound. May your boots have tiny holes, so small they're never found. I'm so sorry. I hope your socks stay wet and you sleep atop the ground. When your head's above a trench, may your unit burst with sound. May your canteen air run dry and you smell like a wet hound. Dear enemy of mine, my hate for you I sing around. May your partner wear gym clothes, not strangers round the town. I hope your sub-beam is no screw and more unwound. When your comrade farts, may your tank get beached on a mound. May both sides of your pillow be ever warm, you frown. Dear enemy of mine, my hate for you mounts pound for pound. May your pretzels be unsalted, mustard never found. I hope someday you'll go far, and hope you'll stay outbound. You're the gray sprinkle on a rainbow cake, you astound. May you beg pardon from the tree. She making a tea for you, whore hound. Okay, I'm coming back now. Don't know if I should even show my face, but okay. At least I didn't wake up these guys. They've got a good sleep. I don't know how much that was punishment for you. Hopefully, we finally catch a tune. One day my ability with technology is a little smoother. Maybe I can make that a little faster, or find a way to make my wheel run faster for you there. I guess if I ever monetize, I'll have to promise my subscribers that I will take some singing lessons. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But we have to take this time to teach sometimes. I've got competitors out there who've had their debuts hosting real concert bands. So yeah, there's my little pitch into that world. Oh, if you're a recruiter out there, I know you're not going to put me on your docket, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm just a regular person. Regular people get conscripted. Regular people serve. Regular people do amazing things in this world. And so here's my hats off to all you out there, Assault Tank, Light Assault, Riri, Tuka, all you guys out there who have served, and ladies, thank you. And I hope you can feel the pain I'm wishing on your worst enemy for you, and I'm wishing on my worst enemy. These little things, these very clean wishes of discomfort can really cause problems for someone. Someone can lead to some real harm, some real illness, some real discomfort, and so I hope you like it. I think I like it. I might want to give this another try a year from now. So, dear subscribers, listeners passing by, I'm sorry, and I hope you had a good chuckle. I hope you can feel the pain I'm wishing on our enemies there, and I'm gonna head back to the campfire now and keep myself warm. Gonna keep my feet dry. Got myself a nice cool pillow waiting for me, and mustard's in my, no, that's in my mustard kit, that's bad, never mind. Alright, I hope you have a wonderful day out there, and, yeah, so subscribers, please know that I am listening to your requests, and I am going to try to deliver. You may be sorry that you requested that, but again, it's alright. We can only give this a try and have a sense of humor about it, right? So, yeah, that's okay by me. Have a wonderful day out there. I wish you the best of health, and I'll see you next time. Okay. And we're back. I hope you enjoyed that. It was fun to make, and it's had a few views. So if you like it, check it out in my playlist, and give it a like if you like it. More of that later if anyone ever requests it from me. But yeah, I'm waiting to hear back as soon as Blue Flame's office shift to see what he thinks. But as to also the women vets that I know of, Lionheart is out there. That's her alt name. In World of Warcraft, you know who you are. Thank you for your service as well. Didn't want to forget you in that list of people that I was acknowledging. So, it is Friday night, 2 minutes to midnight, and before I let you go to the witching hour, one more ghost story for you. These are my ghost stories. These are the things that I've been sensitive to throughout my life, and picking and choosing which one to share at a time. You haven't heard these out there before. They are mine from my own situations. I've lived in a lot of lonely places where you need a helicopter or one directional per week train and a little airplane, tiny airplanes that seat maybe 6 to 8 people, getting me in and out of the areas where I spent the first part of my career. And so in these places, when things happen, you don't necessarily have anyone to go to ask for help, or maybe there's a medicine person or a shaman or some kind of a preacher out there who might help you do a cleanse. And I got into smudging, cleansing for myself as well. I tend to travel with some cedar incense sticks, and I like roses and cherries, all the fun stuff, but I like to have some cedar there. I know other cultures will use sage. There's something from South America that is supposed to send out the bad but keep the good in, not send everything. So there's different stuff out there for people into that. I think more it's a practice of putting yourself at ease and peace of mind as you get to a new place. And there's different things I've done that I picked up over the years to try to not be bothered, or try to ask if there is such a thing, that it can move on, or at least don't show yourself to me so that I don't die of fright before my time. So, and thinking about some of these instances, well, before I ever went north, while I was still in school, I was also working part-time, and I was smart. If I had to work for free as a volunteer, I at least wanted to get something out of it, and I would work deals at a time where most people don't barter anymore. I needed a parking space in order to go to the school that I was attending, and this Living History Museum, or Pioneer Village if you will, was right next door to the university, and so it was like a 18 to 20 minute walk in good weather. Winter was a little bit more of a trek with the winds blowing against you. I was so small, of course, being petite. The wind would blow me backwards if I'm walking on ice. I'd literally go backwards sometimes. The buildings were put together, modeled after a campus in California to cool itself down. In the summer, that's great. But in the winter, when you're when you're in the northern part of the hemisphere, that maybe wasn't the best plan, and students would really be clinging to walls and grabbing doors and reaching for each other to pull each other out of the wind. Because as smaller people, we could blow away. We literally were marching forward while our bodies were going backwards. It was hilarious, but sometimes annoying, because you didn't want to be late and freezing cold all the time. But anyways, So I was smart enough to go volunteer for this Pioneer Village, because if you were an employee there, even volunteers could have a free parking pass. And well, sometimes I got a little warning for staying a little too late, because their security expected that all staff to be gone by a certain time at night. I'd take advantage on pub night and I'd be around. And when I was first trained, there was a very, very lovely lady who was a senior citizen, also working for free just because she loved it. And I got to be stationed with her at the main original log cabin. And this log cabin was actually the second one built by the family that actually donated the land that this university was built on. And that's why they were right beside each other. It was where the first son of this pioneering family got to raise his family, next to his mom and dad's original property, which was actually built in 1813. And being that I was a history major, I got my hands on lots of documents that were handwritten in 1813 to 1834. My job was to transcribe them into modern computer systems so that if anything happened to them, the information would be preserved. And this included the will of the original husband and wife, which was really cool because it touched me. He was a poor guy. She inherited this land because she was one of two sisters. She was the oldest of the two, and she had one brother who was conscripted into that war of 1812. And so, if you've heard of it, it lasted maybe all of 2 weeks, but it was a really big deal between what's now Canada and the United States and the border they were fighting over, loyalists versus people who wanted to be independent of Britain. So in this short version, he died in this war, and he died at 18 years old. What a shame. And so he left his oldest sister his land, because as someone who gave his life to the country, there was a parcel of land granted to him, and he gave it to her. And so the man who became her husband was always grateful and appreciative, and never forgot that the only reason he became a wealthy man was because he married a woman who had unfortunately inherited this parcel of land because of the death of her brother. And this gift that the brother gave, they really made so much out of it. They had many children. Most lived past the age of 18. And in this will, the husband, the father, he remembered that he started out side by side with his wife, the girl who had inherited from her brother, this land, and it's still there to this day. The original houses are there right where they were built by them, and everything else was collected from around the area into there when it was preserved by the town for forevermore. And in his will, he said that although it's the tradition to give the oldest son that which a father could bequeath to carry on the farm or the family business, it was the mother, his wife, which was a reason for him to have ever had it in the first place. And he was very grateful, and that she was there from the beginning before they even had kids, in the mud, in the forest. It took 5 to 8 years to clear enough trees just to have the tiniest little humble, we call it maybe a mini shack, a tiny log cabin, which was basically a one-room walk-in. The fireplace is there, and there's no privacy. And the house where I was stationed was the biggest one that he had rebuilt. She was very disappointed because she had hoped for to look a little more modern, to have some plaster, but it was just a giant log cabin. But granted, it was built so well, it survived things like Hurricane Hazel, while the neighbors in modern slapboard siding and plastered homes were floating away past their upper floor windows. So kudos. But the family passed it down generation after generation to the children, to the grandchildren, to the great-grandchildren, and I don't know how many generations it was, but great-great-great-grandchildren who are now senior citizens, who were the friends who grew up with the lady who trained me, and they grew up in this house as it had been modernized. And so I found out, being trained there, And the lady who was my trainer was called Nora. And Norma, and it's been a few years since I've seen her. But she trained me, and she told me all this history that she learned from the kids because she played there as a kid before it was finally turned into a museum. And this was their way to preserve the land, which had a church on it, because the original landowners, the original couple, did donate a corner of their land to have a church where their family is buried. Not so far away, not such a far walk from where the home is, where they lived and raised their family. And to know that it had gone through so many generations, and that these children, grandchildren, their great-grandchildren will always be honorary members of this Living History Museum, can always visit for free whenever they want during business hours. And I often got to meet them and see them talking so lively with Norma, my trainer. And so they were telling me things like, we had no idea there was a clay brick bake oven in here. And I was known for cooking really nice banana bread every Monday morning. There was one guy, I'm surprised he never asked me out, but he used to come for my coffee and for my banana bread. And if I ever took that recipe home to an electric oven, it never worked out. It always worked out in the clay brick bake oven. I've got a knack for cooking with fire. And so, this is a big build-up, but I need you to know the background and to understand what happened from how I can understand what happened. So I'm meeting these grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, the descendants of, bringing their grandchildren. So the last ones to grow up as children in this giant log home were bringing their grandchildren to know it and see it from their perspective, and they're getting ready to pass it on, pass on the legacy, let them know firsthand. And for them, it was a marvel to see how it was deconstructed, because they said, we modernized it. We grew up. There was an oven in that hole. We didn't know that was a bake oven. We didn't know that was a fireplace. We didn't know this was here or that was here. It was very neat for them to discover, once the modern stuff was pulled out, how we made it look like it was from the 1800s again. And now this was fashioned to about 1834. Now, in considering this, working all day, by the time we would get done in the evening, sun would be going down. It could be a little bit dark, and we did actually bank coals for the regular week and just stir it up again in the mornings. But you had to do it in a certain safe way for fire codes and such. And so, Norma would be banging the coals and such, getting the kitchen turned down. She'd send me upstairs, and by then it's pretty dark, and you'd have to take a lantern with you. And to me, of course, with the shadows and everything, I'd always ask Norma, and she did laugh at me. She's like, "You're afraid, aren't you? But I want you to know that I grew up here as a kid, playing here with those senior citizens you met out there were my childhood friends, and they lived in this house. We grew up here, and there's no one here that's going to hurt you." And I'm like, wait, but the way you're phrasing it, it's like, okay, so if they're here, they're never going to hurt you, because I'm perfectly comfortable with them. And I'm like, oh, you're talking to me like you feel like you know. So I'm not just tricking my brain with what I think I'm seeing in shadows as I walk through, or creaks and stuff. She's like, no, I think that they're here, but I think that, they loved it here. They've raised their family here. All their greatest descendants and grandchildren, they're always coming here. It's a happy place, Dina. It's a safe place. Nothing will hurt you. And I'm like, oh, but that you're talking about it in that way makes me even more afraid to see or hear something. It's like, okay, just go upstairs. I won't make you do the attic. I won't make you do the basement. I'll do that part. Because I'm perfectly fine here. There's no one that's going to hurt you, nothing at all. Just, if anything, anyone's here to just say hello and welcome you. Welcoming you, I'm like, so you're hearing when I think I'm hearing something. She's like, it's just a welcome because you're new, and no harm is meant, and you know what, I'll sing for you, so that you know I'm here. And she would make noise, so I'd know she was there, that I'd know it was deliberately her, and she would sing to me. Now, of course, I wasn't seeing anything. It was just my nerves. And, your mind plays with you, because maybe you want to play with these thoughts in your mind. And so, And I'd go and I'd do my round up and through the parlor, up the back stairs. The father had actually put the girls' bedroom through a little tiny stairwell that had a steep twist in it, very narrow, to the girls' bedroom. So they couldn't ever sneak out of the house because they'd pop out where dad is sleeping. So very smart, Papa. But again, the father that wrote this loving, will, to make sure it would have been passed to the mother and not the son right away. The son couldn't have it unless the mother could always live there. And so she passed away in that home. Just to finish that original story as I ramble. And so I just thought so much love and respect between that original couple on this property that I really shouldn't be scared. So why are we nervous of the other? If they're good people, if we knew the people, if the people were always kind in life, why would we be afraid it would be any different now? Okay, but originally I got very used to having shift with Norma, and some funny things would happen, like accidentally we decided to get rid of all of the old mint plants that were hung upside down because they were a couple of years old and getting dusty, and we thought for health and safety, let's just toss it all in the fire. We had this one glorious morning where you just smelt all kinds of mints and herbs just flowing through the kitchen. It drew a big crowd, hoping that we were cooking something wonderful. And we were like, well, let's get rid of the weeds too, since we're at it. Because we have to take care of the things in the garden. We were getting ready to that time of year where we would be retting flax to spin linen, because Canada didn't have cotton, had linen. And we could demonstrate that, so we're getting, the lawn cleared for that. And we found this one flower, and I said, oh, look at this beautiful pink flower. Do you know what it is? And it's kind of a trumpet, one-petaled trumpet flower. It's like, I don't know, but let's throw it in. We've got to get rid of it anyways. As we're tossing it in, it didn't take more than a split second to realize what we had just tossed armfuls of into the fire to de-weed our garden area was tobacco. See, back in the day, tobacco was a main crop for a lot of farmers and making good money. Still does to this day for many people out there. But I'm allergic to tobacco. And, well, she's not allergic. It was a lot. It was like a big cloud. And we had to run out because we just could not breathe. I was swelling. She couldn't breathe. So we had run to open the windows and keep the door open. We're standing on the porch trying to fan out that door. I'm trying to breathe. I'm sticking my face under the water pump for the well. And luckily it was the second half of the day, so we had already fed the people coming through for our banana bread and cookies. And I had the managers come check it out, and they had made this decision, do we close for the public or not? And the decision was, historically, this is how a house would have smelled, so just warn people before they go in that, someone's been smoking tobacco, and don't worry about it. And so I stayed on the outside clearing what I could identify for sure were weeds, and Norma was inside living with it. She was kind like that. She was really, really kind. Well, after this, it tended to be that I started getting shifts in other buildings. I started working with the weaver, and I wove my first something that I still use as a table runner today. And sometimes I was put in the schoolhouse to be the school marm and tell stories over there. And I wasn't getting as many shifts with Norma anymore, more just here coming in and coming out at the beginning and end of our day. But the odd time I still got to go back and work in the house. And to my disappointment, the last time I worked in the house, I didn't know at the time it would be the last time. It wasn't my plan. But going in there, doing my regular thing, but someone different had been assigned there. So, all our shifts do change, and people take holidays and people have sick days. So I don't think much of it. I mean, some of us did rotate through different sets of buildings and take our turns. There were, 2 for every building as main interpreters. And, we'd talk and blah, 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 and whatever. And I don't know, I was just being slow about things that day. And I don't remember what I was doing. But I know that I'm always trying to keep busy. There was a quilt set up in the parlor, I think at that time. And just going around making sure the bed strings and stuff weren't played with, and because it was rope beds and stuff, and making sure that there was no fuss, anything turned over near the end of the shift. And people shift, when you have people that run around and cover everybody's lunches and dinners and stuff. And so there was a shift change, and Norma had just come back in. The other girl had told me she was leaving, and hurry up. She wanted to get going. She had something to do at the end of the day, so she was leaving a tiny bit early. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And I thought it was really nice that Norma came over to help me out to close up again. And this time around, she didn't really sing, but she said, you know what? Don't worry about the upstairs. I know you're scared of going up there, so you don't have to do that today. If you could just finish up down here, and lock up. I'll lock up when you go, and everything's gonna be fine. And I'm like, thank you so much. You are the best as always. She's like, no problem. And I turned around and asked her another question, and because usually I always went up through the girls' bedroom way, and I don't know, I always followed that pattern from the parlor to the bedroom or whatever. But I was coming back in as just throwing a few of the scraps that we needed for the quilting back into the quilting bag, and I had moved a needle. I remember I moved a needle, and it was getting pretty dark, so hard to see. And I'm like, "Oh, do you need a lantern?" But she had already gone up the back way because the door closest to the front of the house. Here's the design plan of the dad. It opens up straight beside or perpendicular to the main door of the house, going in and out. So the boys could go out, but they had jobs to do on the farm. So that was considered reasonable. They could get up and go out even before dad gets up and goes out, if that's the case, early in the morning, take care of the cows and the animals and all of that. So she had gone up those doors, I thought. And the fire hadn't been banked, so I figured, oh, well, fair enough, I'll bank it, because usually she did, but, she's letting me off the hook for having to go around upstairs where it makes me nervous. And I always thought that I always made a bit of a noise trudging around, but she wasn't making any noise, and I didn't think anything of it because she's such a lightweight person. And so I banked the fire, and by this time, it's hard to see. I grabbed my lantern, went out the door. Like, I called up to her that I was going to go see if she wanted to come down with, but she didn't answer. So I figured maybe she had gone up to the next floor because there was another attic door. That's the one I was always worried about having to go to, which is on the side of the boys' bedroom because it's where they would store things like corn husks. And there was, again, we're getting close to the fall now, so a time of year where you would lay out the corn husks to dry because that's what they stuff their mattresses with. And I'm like, she'll probably take care of it. She's fine. She's not scared of this place. So I'm just going to go because I'm getting kind of late now and I want to get out. And I just figured I'd meet her up at the front or whatever, and I don't think she'd be mad. And so I see the security guard. He's like, you're a bit late getting out. And I'm like, yeah, well, we're locking up a little bit late. I guess I'm, kind of slow today, but I figure it doesn't matter, right? Because I'm not too late to get out of the parking lot today, right? He's like, what do you mean we? I'm like, well, he's like, is someone still in there? Is there another guest in there? I'm like, no guests. The guests are gone at normal time. We had shut down, but she's in there locking up. Norma's in there. What do you mean, Norma? And I'm confused. I'm like, the older lady that's usually the main person assigned to the room. He goes, and no, she's not on shift today. You saying you saw her today? I'm like, yeah, she covered the end of the shift for XYZ because they had to go home early. Like, well, no, they kind of left on time. You're the one that's late, Dina. You're like, we don't know why you're unusually late, like you're super slow today. I'm like, oh, well, I guess was talking. I mean, we're not allowed to wear watches because that's modern, right? So I didn't really pay attention to time. I guess that's why it's getting so dark out there. Like, you're the last one here, like from the interpreters. I'm like, what do you mean I'm the last one here? She's there. He's like, so you didn't lock the door? I like, no. He's like, so I have to go back and lock the door? He's like, come with me. I'm like, so you don't want me to leave? Like, there are two guys on site, but one walks around or the other, and they have their flashlight. He's like, you're coming with me. I'm like, okay. So we went there. We went in. We opened the door. He's like, you can't. when it's your shift, you've got to lock it. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not going to lock someone in. She just didn't come down. I'm like, Norm's not on shift today. Like, oh, well, maybe she just, I don't know, maybe she just wanted to help me out and she was visiting. I know sometimes she just visits because she hangs out with the people who are members who are the descendants, right? It's like, no, they weren't here today. You didn't want to hear, Dina. And that's why I made you come with me, because I'm not coming here by myself. Like, what are you talking about? So we called up. We went through the house together. Everything was fine. Everything was in its place. And I'm like, so, well, she just checked the top because I'm nervous about it. And I banked the clothes. I closed everything up down here. Everything's in its place. And he locked the door. He waited until, he didn't say anything to me. And he waited until we were back at the main building, in the brick building, where there's electric lights on. And he walked me out to the front where the cars are, so I could go home. And I'm like one of 3 cars left in the parking lot. It was dark now. He goes, Dina, haven't you noticed that you haven't been on shift with her like the past couple weeks? I go, yeah, everybody got, moved around. I figure she got priority because she loves that house and she's been here longer than me. I'm like only here for my 2nd year. And, but she was my trainer. So like, I figured she just was doing me a solid, right? I mean, she must have just gone and we missed her. She's like, no, the reason she hasn't been here, the reason you've been scheduled with other people is because she passed away a couple weeks ago. I'm like, what? She is dead. Dina, you didn't see her. You didn't talk to her. If you did, that was her ghost. You're playing games with me. No. Ask Robin. That was my boss. Ask Robin. They were really good friends. She worked for that same department as you. She's been gone for 2 weeks, Dina. She hasn't been here because she's dead. I walked to my car without looking backwards, feeling really freaked out, running our conversation in our head, thinking about how I felt, knowing that the person that went off shift actually left when our shift was supposed to end not early. Well, they left a little bit early for them, but I don't know what I was doing to have been so late in leaving. Some kind of a brain fart, I don't know. Did I go into a daze? But what I do know is the kindly person that trained me was kind enough to help me lock down, let me out of the thing that most freaked me out about the place, so that I would feel comfort, and I would feel warmth, and I would feel happy, and not disturbed, and now I was terrified. And I drove home without looking backwards. I didn't even want to look sideways at the property, which was a tree line on a fence. And I called in sick for a couple days, because I did confirm when I talked to Robin the next time I came in a day shift, in the morning, that in fact she had been to Norma's funeral a couple weeks ago. Norma was a fantastic person and a kind person. And so I wonder, aren't we the same in the after? And she did always tell me that if someone's there, it's just to greet you, it's not to harm. But it still didn't change that I didn't want any more late shifts. I didn't want to close up any buildings anymore. So I found another job within a couple of months after that. And just wish her well. She's in the place that she loved, so. And I guess her friends would still be visiting, and she'll still be there greeting. If anything else was ever there, she's the one in touch with it. So that's my ghost story for tonight. And it's one that I couldn't really sort out, and that's just all I could tell you about it. But I do know that the security guards there don't like going to the side, the corner where the manse and the church are. They do feel like they see things. They do feel like they hear things. And that was mine. That was my experience there in the main house. From a wonderful lady who grew up playing there as a kid. Well, I think that's all we have for tonight for Tuck In and Chill. I hope that you've been rested. I hope that you've been entertained. And I wish you all a good night on this Good Friday. Well, now technically it's Holy Saturday, Ramadan and Passover. Tomorrow, for those of you who are not religious, it is the Vimy Ridge Observance Day as well. Lots going on this weekend. I hope you get a good night's sleep and can go get out and do something fun and interesting for yourself tomorrow. Take care of yourself, Soul. I'm on your side, and I'm cheering for you. Be well, and I'll see you next time.